Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to continue with our course on introduction to LangChain, right, for absolute beginners. So in this course, in this video, actually, we're going to be talking about memories and how memories work. So for example, if you're building a chatbot, right, and you're having a conversation with a chatbot, imagine the chatbot has to imagine the chatbot doesn't remember what you said previously. Then the conversation will be really not interesting, right? So for example, let's say that you have a very elderly or elderly person, right? And maybe they are suffering from a disease, like they can't remember things properly. So even if you're having a conversation with them, 1 minute later they don't know what you previously said, then it will be difficult to have a conversation with such an individual, right? That's the same thing when it comes to chatbots, right? They need to remember what you said, or they need to have a memory of how the conversation was flowing before they can give you an appropriate response that does not only take into account what you said, but what you said previously before what you're currently saying, right? So that the bot can understand properly, and that's where the memory comes in, right? So let me just go in here. I've already loaded all my environment variables in here. So once I'm going to go in, I'm going to go ahead and create a simple bot, and let's see what's the disadvantage of the bot not having a chatbot not having memory. Okay, so I'm going to say from this is going to my import. So I'm going to say importations, and I'm going to say from LangChain. From LangChain, I'm going to import or the Open AI, and then I'm going to let me just have Open AI for now. Once I have that, I'm going to run that. I'm going to go ahead and create an LM. So let me just keep a comment right here. Create LM, and then say LLM is going to be equals to, I'm going to say Open AI bot, and I'm going to go ahead and simply pass in my uh, Open AI API key. So Open AI API key. So this is gonna be Open AI, and it's gonna be the API key, and this is gonna be right here. Copy this and just simply paste it right here. So it's gonna go ahead and create for me the LLM, and you can also pass in temperature if you want and other stuff like that. But I'm not gonna pass in all of that. Okay. So I'm also going to go here and just simply create a conversational chain, right? So let's go ahead and import that. Right? So let's go ahead and say import uh, then be conversational chain, and then run that. Okay, so I'm going to use the conversational chain right here. So I'm going to say conversational underscore chain, c chain. Let's say conv underscore chain is going to be equals to the conversational chain. So conversational chain, and I'm going to go ahead and pass in a couple of things. So it needs an LLM, and LLM is going to be the LM that we created above here. And I'm also going to go ahead and pass in verbose. So verbose means that we see what the bot is doing. So verbose is like we say verbose to be true, so you can see what the bot is doing in the background, right? Okay, so once we have this conversational agent, you can go ahead and simply ask a couple of questions. So I'm just going to go in here and then say dot, and then simply say run. And I'm going to go ahead and say run, and I can say, how are you doing today? And then press enter. So you can see now how the bot is thinking and all that. Okay, so you can say how are you doing today, and you can see I'm doing great, and thank you for asking. And I've been learning a lot lately, so I'm excited to see what else I can discover. What about you? And then the conversation goes on, right? So good, right? And let's also ask it a couple of questions. Let's just go here and say, my name is Prince, right? Let's tell him my name is Prince. So I say let's say my name is John, right? Okay, so we run that. So it says, hi John. Okay, good. So good, it just knows our name. So now we're going to ask it, what is my name? So in reality, it should be able to remember what your name is, right? So it goes, it says your name is John, right? It remembers your name properly. So it has a bit of memory and trying to remember things properly, but in actual sense, sometimes it can't remember things absolutely correctly. So that's where the point of having a memory comes into play, whereby you have a memory and you store all the previous conversation that you have, and then the bot can go back and then recall all that information. And let's see how we can use a memory to properly enhance this to make it even better. So now we ask it. Let's go ahead and ask it a couple of questions just to uh, see how it performs. So go ahead, paste that in here. So you can see it has a history of all the conversation that we had. So this is the memory right here. You can see it having a history of all the information. You ask it, how are you doing? And it replied, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And then we will go back and say, we told our name is John. And it said, hi John. And then say, what is my name? And it said us, our name is John. How are you doing today? And it says, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I have been learning a lot lately and all that. So you can see it's actually working just fine, right? We are currently having some sort of memory, remembering the things that we are actually telling the bot to do. So there are different types of memory that we have in LangChain. The different memories can do a lot of things, right? I'm not going to go over into depth about the different memories, okay? But I'm basically going to introduce you to different memory that we have in LangChain, because this course is just like an introduction course and not anything that you want to go deep into. Okay, so basically once we have this right here, we have the conversational chain, and that's all we have here. So let me just go ahead and just bring this code right here, copy this, bring it right here, paste it right here, and just instead of using run, I'm going to say predict, and then say, how are you doing today? We got an error right here. It says got missing output input, so you have to go ahead and specify input if you're using predict. So you can say, go ahead and say input and then equals to, and then run this. So you can say it has all history of all our previous chats, right? So good. Now let's go ahead and look now into details how you can control memory yourself. Okay. Again, all this article, I have written an article about this, and you can find all the information about the articles about memory and all this on my Medium page. So all of them is in here. So the code that I'm going to be interested in is this code right here. So I'm just going to copy it and then bring it into my Jupyter notebook and then paste it right here. Okay, good. So everything that you're going to see in here is what I've covered throughout the course. So we talk about the different messaging messages, and then human message system message and all that, chat message and all that, and you talk about different prompts. So you can, once you pause the video and look at through this code, or you can go ahead and find the code on Medium. I also leave the code, the link to GitHub. You should be able to find to understand everything that you have done here so far. You're just creating a system message right here, and you're basically having a system message right here, system prompts template, and you're passing information. Your name is Hilda. You are a historian, very talkative and smart. Answer the questions you are being asked and have a sense of humor. You should be kind and polite in your responses, right? So that's basically the prompt that we passed to it. Now we created a system message as simply having a variable name history. Now, if you look in our code, we don't have any variable named history, or we don't have anything that we pass into our prompts called history. So where is it getting this history information from? So it's getting the history information from the memory buffer. So we have created a memory buffer right here. So conversational memory, conversational buffer memory. So you're passing this memory into our model, basically our chat conversation chain, so you can remember whatever the conversation you're having with it was, right? And one thing I want to mention is that the reason why it's able to remember these things right here is because you're using a Jupyter notebook, right? So if you run this outside of a Jupyter notebook, it won't be able to remember most of this. Basically, it won't have any history of the conversation that we had with it. So try to run this in a Python prompt. Just create a Python file and then try to run this. It won't remember anything that you said. But if you're running the Jupyter notebook, for some reason, it remembers the previous information. So it's actually it's storing them as a current conversation, because I think Jupyter, I don't know how Jupyter Notebook works in the background, but it looks like we are not actually. But if you're not actually creating a new instance all the time, you're not actually having a new conversation all the time. You're just adding on to the existing conversation. But if you run this in a Python file, then it won't have history of the conversation. So that's one thing you need to take into account, and that's the whole point of having our own memories. Okay, so if you're running this outside of a Jupyter Notebook, you have an issue of the bot or the chatbot trying to remember what you said, because it doesn't have history of the conversation. Okay, it's just that it happens in Jupyter Notebook that you have a history of the conversations. So run that in a Python notebook, and a Python file, and then a .py file, and see how it behaves. And that's why you can begin to appreciate memories. Okay, so memory basically stores the previous conversation instead of a memory, and I've created a memory right here, which is make conversation buffer memory, and then pass in this thing. So uh, basically just run it, and that's all. So it keeps track of all the information that you are basically telling the bot. So once you go ahead and simply run this code, and let's see what we get back. So we run it. Okay, so it's gonna take a bit of time. Let's see what we get back. So okay, so we got back a response here. It says, "Hello today. How can I assist you today?" So it just first of all we ran this conversation right. We just told the bot, "Hey," and let's paste that right in there. So I'm just gonna run that and say, ask the bot, "Hey there," and then finally I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this, right, and then paste it in here, and let's see what the bot response. It says, hello once again. Lovely to us to have you back. And then let's say we run another conversation. Can you tell me about the history of the First World War? Okay, good. It gave us the history of the First World War. So now I'm going to go ahead and ask the question again. I'm going to ask it, what was my previous question? Let's see if it remembers. what was my previous previous question. So what was my previous question? And then run that. Let's see what it's going to tell us. If it has a memory of that, it should give us a good answer. So you can tell us. You can see it clearly remembers what we said previously. It tells us, can you tell me? So it says your previous question was, can you tell me about the history of the First World War? Who are the winners and basically who are the winners you think, right? So basically we got the response back and the AI remembers whatever we asked it previously, right? So that's the whole point of having a memory. Okay, so there are different types of memory, but in this case we just went about the memory buffer, right? The conversational buffer memory. There are different types of memory that you can use in in LangChain and with OpenAI and ChatGPT and all that. But this is just the simple introduction to this. So all these things you're learning is just laying the foundation for other things that I plan on us doing in the future. Build different projects and other stuff on top of it like that. So this is just like giving you a foundation of what LangChain is, right? So now you know what a memory is, why a bot needs to have a memory. Like it needs to remember how the conversation has been going and how it is currently going, so it can give you appropriate answers, right? So if you run this code right here, the one that you have, if you run this outside of the Jupyter notebook, you see that the conversational chain will not remember anything that you have said, right? But if you run, if you have a memory buffer, a conversational buffer memory, it's gonna store everything that you said. Not everything, like it's gonna store the like some amounts or some counts of the previous conversation. Maybe like you can store the last 5 conversations that you had between you and the bot, so the bot can remember, right? So it's gonna be something similar to this, right? Yeah, just that yeah, we're running this in Jupyter Notebook, so I don't know how it works in the background, but it's keeping like the things is not being updated, right? So yeah, so something like that. So that's basically it, and that's the importance of memory. So if you want to understand the importance of memory, just go ahead and try to run this instead of a Python file, and basically ask the question, and then let it respond, and then let it ask it another question of what did I say previously. It won't probably remember, right? Yeah, but but if you're using memory, it's going to remember because it stores all that in the memory. That's what you can see. It's telling you exactly what was your previous question, and that's the advantage of using a memory. So if you're building a chatbot, don't build a chatbot without a memory. Like that would be the most boring chatbot in the world because it won't remember any of the previous conversations, right? So you need to keep track of the previous conversations, and that's how you go ahead using a memory. You start using memory, okay? Guys, so that's all I wanted us to talk about in this video. If you find this interesting and you enjoy the content and you like it, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel and liking the video, sharing this video with anyone of your friends, family who is interested in LLMs, ChatGPT, how to build applications around LLMs and other stuff like that. So this has given you a brief overview of all the foundations. So in the next video, in the next upcoming videos, we'll begin to build projects, and so that you can take all the basic stuff that you learned in these videos previously from the beginning until now, and learn it and you apply them into building an actual project that you can actually make use of or make sense of and try to understand LangChain, OpenAI, and all this stuff, LMs, and more and more. So guys, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Keep safe.